What's going on, guys? So in this video, I'm planning on finally redoing the fuel system in the RX-7. I have a bunch of goodies, as you can see. I got a air-motive regulator, radium inline filter, a whole ton of fittings. First, I have to modify the pump hanger to accept AN bulkhead fittings, which looks like it might be a little tricky because there isn't much space, but I'm sure I'll be able to figure something out. And then the rest of it is going to be making lines and mounting regulators and adapters and all that fun stuff. So the problem with this is I'm going to cut off these two lines, and one's the feed that goes to the pump, the other's the return. Now, I have bulkhead fitting 90s to go in these holes, but as you can see, there is not much room for them, at least the return. The feed should be fine. So I'm gonna have to figure out where I can put it, where I'm not gonna bother anything else. I also don't need this low level sensor because I'm not gonna be using that with the race pack. I'm just gonna be using the float. So I might be able to actually like slightly move the float out of the way, but I'm gonna look at it and see what I come up with. I ordered a new sock filter from Airmotive for the pump, and just for comparison, this is the one that I pulled out. It's gross. There's supposedly the same part number. I don't know what turned this orange. I don't remember it being orange when I put it in. Weird. But it's definitely, you can see it's got all this crap inside and all that black was all crap that got pulled out. So I'm glad I took it out and took the time to clean it. Now I just have to figure out how to make this work. But let me see if I can find those bulkheads. There are so many fittings in here. I got straight hose ends, I got the ORB adapters for the pump and the regulator. I got 90 hose ends. Now somewhere in here there's these big bulky bulkhead fittings. There's a filter. Where are you? I saw you the other day. I know they're in here. Here we go. So this is bulkhead fittings. So it's got an AN-8 out, and then a thread for a nut on the inside of whatever you're putting it through, and then another AN male end there. The issue I'm gonna have is, you gotta think, you gotta have room for this, for the return. So I'm gonna have to make sure I have enough room to put it here with a nut. The feed, on the other hand, there should be room. I should be able to clearance this out enough to get one of these in here. It's just gonna be tricky where I put that return. Worst case scenario, I can always just plug the return line here, and then I can put it on the tank itself next to this, because it should be easy enough to get to, and then I'm just gonna run basically a hose from a barb coming out of that AN line and dropping back into the collector for where the pump's going. To have the return, I have to make sure wherever I put it, that it will get back to the pickup for the pump. Because I don't need the fuel low sensor, I think I'm gonna move the fuel level sender ring terminal from this one, or from this one to this one, and then that will make it so I could probably drill out this guy and put the return there. And then I'll just plug that hose thing. It'll look a little funky, but there's no room over here or anywhere near where that guy's gonna be, I don't think. Maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna cut this off on both sides and then I'll relook at it. And if there is enough room, you know, if I have to like clearance this hanger a bit, I could put it there, and that will save me a lot of hassle. I'd really like to keep them nice and neat like they are here. I'm also gonna give this thing a clean up. It's pretty nasty. That's the feed. The only problem is it got really close to the wiring and kind of like melted this insulation. So I'm gonna make sure that that has good resistance across it, because I might end up just chopping this one off and using these two instead. Because I have another one that's a red wire that I was using for something else, and you know, just gotta make, I don't know, I might redo all this wiring. I don't like it. I don't like how I had it before. I might just chop these off and run new bolts through with little heads. I haven't figured it out yet, but priority number one is getting these bulkheads to fit through. So that's basically what it's gonna be. I had to clearance this hanger for the return there, but that should be fine once you get something on there. I have to do a little bit more clearancing so the nuts will sit flush. There's like that little nub there. And then I gotta maybe possibly trim that electrical connector a hair. I don't really know what I'm gonna do there. It's just sitting kind of on it. There's not enough room up top to like thread on the fitting down. So I'm gonna have to play with it a bit, see what I can do. I only need 2 of them anyway, so I'll probably get rid of that one. Just cut it off. So good news is, it looks like it'll all fit. Bad news is, I got the right 8AN to 1/2" hose barb for the return, but I got a -6 to 3/8 for the feed when I should have got a -8 to 3/8 because of the pump outlet's 3/8 barb. So I'm gonna have to try to source one of those quick, because I really don't feel like waiting on that, but I mean, I can put this in and do everything else in the meantime. I'm gonna tape this off and throw a coat of black paint on the top of this just so it doesn't look like crap. Near me had a -8 female to -6 male adapter, so now I can just adapt to that barb. It looks a little jank, but it's only because I'm not running big power now using the smaller pump. So down the line, I'll be able to split -8, probably 2 -6, and run double of that pump and when I want to make big power. But for now, this will be super reliable. Pump hanger. You got the new sock going up through the pump with a little bit of 3/8 line. It attaches with the 3/8 to -6 barb, and then it scales up to -8, you know, future proofing. And then I have the -8 going to a 1/2" hose that I have hooked up, so it just dumps it right back into that well in the tank. And this looks a lot cleaner than it did before. Now I'm just gonna solder on some new ends to these so they look a little better, and I'm gonna try to find a connector, because basically this is pump power and then the fuel level sender, and then it'll ground right to this flange. I also do have to figure out how to hook back up that sender. I think I have a little bit of a clearancing issue to this nut, so I'm gonna have to shave the corner of it a bit or along the holes, but I'll make it work and I'll let you guys know how it comes out. So that's it, all assembled in the car. I went through the trouble of wiring all this up through a grommet over here, and then the friggin' wire came out of the socket for the sender, so I'm gonna have to trim this. Actually, it broke. I'm gonna have to trim this back and resolder it onto here, but not critical for now. Next up will be actually lining up where I'm gonna run lines and doing all that fun stuff. So I made this first line. I got a little carried away and didn't film anything, but I made it. It's about 8 feet long, got 2 straight hose ends on it, and then I have the ORB fittings on either end of the radium filter, and the filter is gonna basically go vertically right at the base of the firewall, kind of right there in the center. So I'm gonna set that up and kind of look at how I'm gonna mock it up and mount it, and we'll kind of go from there. So I just riv knotted in that little bracket down there where a hose clamp's gonna be able to fit over for the fuel filter. And there we have the filter mounted. Stoked on that. So now that outlet is just gonna go from right there to the back of the rail right there. The line from the filter right there to the back of the rail. As clean as these ones are, because I had a nice wrench that I could use, these ones got marred up because I tried putting electrical tape around some like channel locks and it just grabbed the corners. Sucks. But hey, it'll work. So bad news and potential change of plans. If you can tell, the fuel rail's out. I got one adapter in really well and had the line all hooked up to it and everything, very nice. But the other adapter, the threads just fucked up and then it snapped. which is crazy. I mean, this is what I get. I mean, I couldn't find these adapters literally anywhere. So I ended up ordering them on some eBay brand, whatever. And then I later found out that they were on Vibrant's website, just in a different section that I missed. So if I would have just done the research and got them Vibrant, probably wouldn't even have this issue. But I don't think that's repairable. I think the threads were actually damaged when I pulled out the regulator. I'm not sure how, but it looked like maybe the way I was trying to get the regulator out, it might have pulled a thread or something, and then trying to thread this back in just got it all screwed up, which is very disappointing because this rail is actually really nice. It's not like the non-VVTi rail that's side feed. Like, this is a very decent rail. And like diameter wise, it's not even that much smaller than a 1/2 inch for the Dash 8, so it wouldn't have been much of a restriction, but I'm probably gonna have to pony up for something aftermarket. Probably a radium one now, because I'm not gonna go get another OEM one. They're probably just as much money, which is super unfortunate. So this is basically, I mean, I might mount the regulator just so I feel better about myself, but this is probably gonna be it until I can get a new rail. Sad face.